In this video, we'll talk briefly about how different reading texts are organized. This will help us understand what we are reading and later write better as well.
Absolutely. Now you know that before you start to read anything, you already have some expectation about its structure. You know, for example, that it will be composed of paragraphs, and you can expect the first paragraph to give an introduction to the topic and the last one to give some sort of summary or conclusion, right?
Right, that's a general rule. These rules of text organization make something easier to read, understand, and remember. One rule is using keywords or phrases like first, second, or as a result. There are many others that are used to organize a text.
We have learned that in an academic essay, for example, the introductory and concluding sections follow a predictable pattern. But the body or main section can be organized in a number of ways depending on the purpose of the text. In a problem solution essay, for example, you are likely to find a description of the problem followed by some solutions. In a research report, you expect a description of the findings followed by some discussion of the results.
You could be reading a paper that compares something with other similar things, or it might contrast different topics. It could include any of these aspects, but the important thing to remember is that there will always be a clear pattern depending on the type and purpose of the text. All these features combine to give the document coherence and cohesion. That reminds me, I enjoyed today's class on cohesion and coherence. Did you?
Yes, the concepts were explained clearly. It is easy to think we understand, but applying these concepts is not always very easy. Why don't we discuss these as we always do and see if we are clear about cohesion and coherence? Okay, let's talk about coherence first. This refers to how ideas are connected. It basically answers these questions. Is the argument consistent? I mean, does it stick to the point? Are the ideas written in a logical order? Do they seem to follow each other naturally? Is the structure of the argument explicit? Can you clearly follow how the writer develops the arguments? Are there any headings? Are they written in a parallel form? Does each paragraph have one idea which is expressed clearly in the topic sentence? These elements all make what you're reading coherent.
Cohesion is related. This refers to the connections between and within sentences and paragraphs. There are various ways cohesion is achieved. It might be how old information is linked to new information in the following sentence. Summary words and parallel grammar structures also help with cohesion. And word families or lexical types of nouns and synonyms all help to bind a paragraph together. They make a text cohesive.
That's right. An author used all of these elements with linking words to connect their ideas. If you can recognize what makes something you read coherent and cohesive, and you have a wide, rich vocabulary and knowledge of how ideas are linked together, you will grasp the contents of anything you read quickly.
Very true. Now, let me say something quickly about skimming. This is a reading strategy we all use to get a quick idea of the main points, although we all use skimming anyway. It's a good idea to be aware of it and why you use it. If you have lots to read but limited time, then it's a useful technique. For me, it's around 4 times faster than normal reading, and I follow this pattern. I read the title, of course, so I already have a mental idea of the content. Then, I read the introduction or the first paragraph. I read the first sentence of each of the other paragraphs. Then, any headings or subheadings. I notice any photos, charts, or graphs in the text and check any italicized or bold-faced words or phrases. Finally, I read the conclusion or summary. At the end of this quick process, I should have a good sense of the main ideas in the piece I'm reading.
Scanning is equally useful. We use scanning when we want to find specific information quickly. When you are scanning, you are looking for keywords or ideas. Most of the time you know what you are looking for, so you concentrate on finding the answer and ignore unrelated information. We all do this every time we check a bus timetable or a word in a dictionary. If I'm reading an academic paper and I want to find the answer to a specific question, I use these basic strategies. I try to anticipate how the information I want will appear in the text. I look for clues. For example, if I want to find a certain date, I look only at paragraphs with numbers in them. Headings and other aids can help me identify which sections contain what I'm looking for. I selectively read and skip through sections of a passage until I find what I want. The point is to be aware of skimming and scanning, and use these techniques consciously when you are reading something. If you think about how and for what purpose you are reading something, it will give you greater control of the material.
Well, let's review what we've been talking about. Here's an academic essay entitled "The Burden of Homework for Hong Kong Students." How many of the features we've been talking about can you identify?
I can already predict what some of the vocabulary might be from the title and my own experience of dealing with the huge amount of homework we have.
Good! Skim through it now and make a note of the features. How is the essay organized? Note the purpose of each paragraph. Is it providing background information, describing a problem, offering a solution, or some other purpose? Which organizational pattern has the writer followed? How are the paragraphs ordered? It's a great idea to do this with a study buddy, so that you can share what you've noticed. Do you have the same answers? If not, justify your answers to your buddy.
Now that you've briefly analyzed the features of the essay, it's always useful to respond personally to it. We both like to comment on the ideas in the margins and try to relate it in some way to our own experience.
Yes, this essay is easy to comment on. I know all about the burden of homework.
Okay, well, the final question. Do you agree or disagree with the writer's conclusions?